Welcome back, everybody. Today we are discussing a project called STEPN. This is a move to earn project. It's been super hyped recently. So we're going to run through a bit of an overview, and then we're going to talk about how you may be able to earn a few $100s a day just by exercising. So let's hop right in. The first thing that I want to note, and a lot of you guys have already claimed this, is if you are a subscriber, I'm providing a free chart pattern guide, for all of my subscribers. So you can just drop your email in the form in the description below, and I will make sure to send that your way. With that out of the way, let's hop right into the project today. So STEPN, like I said, a move to earn project that's gotten a lot of hype recently. As you can see, there's been crazy adoption. So 425,000 Discord members, 375,000 nearly Twitter followers, and a lot of activity, a lot of new users on the platform. So it's been really, really interesting to see the hype and the growth of this project. But essentially what you're doing is getting one of these sneakers from Magic Eden, which is the Sol NFT marketplace. So these sneakers basically count as your way to actually earn in this NFT mobile game. So players will have one of these sneakers. They might customize it a little bit, and we'll kind of get into where that falls. But they're using these sneakers, and then within the app, they are essentially having these attributed to when they're actually moving, on a hike, walk, or run. So that's kind of the basic background on, what STEPN is, and how people are kind of getting involved in it. And as you can see, they've executed on a lot of their roadmap. They have this really, really cool visual that kind of shows you where they're looking to go. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be gamified in the future, questing systems, achievement systems. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of keep this crazy growth up. And that's kind of where I want to go with this next, is because, at first sight, this really, really seems to be way too good to be true, right? So the biggest question comes, the biggest question becomes, how do they sustain this growth? Where are these users coming from? Are there competitors? So we have a couple answers here. And that's the biggest thing. Right now, STEPN isn't the only company to have done this before. There were other, players in the space that came earlier, Dot Moves, Kalo, Step, and each of these had their kind of specific in-app tokens, right? But what's unique with STEPN is just how much they've been able to amass users and how much they've been able to pay users. So they've amassed over 200,000 users. This is as of last week. And in the last week, over 32,000 sneakers have been minted. So that is these folks right here. So these sneakers, there's been about 32,000 of them minted over just the last 7 to 10 days. So definitely a lot of activity. And right now what people are seeing is the average STEPN sneaker. So the average, user using one of those sneakers that we just showed you, they're earning about $20 per day, while a premium tier sneaker, that's customized, maybe adding a few gems, which we'll talk about here in a moment, those can earn hundreds of dollars a day. So that's kind of where this sustainability question comes into play, right? Because how are you paying out a ton of people hundreds of dollars a day just for not doing nothing, right? But, walking, running, they're not necessarily putting in a ton of investment principal to earn that back as passive income. So that's what we're going to start breaking down right now. What is their plan to make this sustainable? How do they think that they can go about this, and will it be sustainable? So just to give you guys a little bit of background, here is the actual token. So it's called STEPN, but the ticker is GMT, so it can get kind of confusing. But here's kind of the year-to-date chart. So it started back in early March. You can see it's essentially just been going upwards ever since, which on one side is very, promising, and on one side is pretty concerning, because what goes up must come down, right? So it's just interesting to see that it's actually been able to not only pop from kind of this, April consolidation phase up to this new area, but it's been able to hold this pretty consistently for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So this is kind of what caught my eye. I thought that this was just going to launch and completely fail, but it's been able to somewhat stabilize, which is kind of why I wanted to do a video on it. I think, what they're doing does sound pretty interesting. So let's get into a little bit about what they're doing to counteract that supply being, those tokens being sold and just the liquidity being taken up out of this coin. And what are they going to do to kind of bring back some of that token burn, bring back some options to kind of mitigate the factor that, so many people are just going to be withdrawing cash from their winnings. So first of all, there is GST and GMT. GST is the utility token. GMT is the token that we just discussed, which is the governance token. And for this video, we're going to just focus on GMT. Total supply of 6 billion. And within this kind of in-app marketplace that they have created, you can either rent these sneakers. So some people will rent them if they don't want to spend, the 10 to 15 Solana coins that it takes to actually purchase one of these. Or you can straight up buy a sneaker. You buy it on Magic Eden on Solana, and then you sign up in the app and you can start earning. And right in the app, you can swap your GMT for USD coin. So really, really easy for these users to have a good in-app experience, get their winnings, withdraw that, and go from there. But this is kind of where it gets a little bit interesting, right? Because this is where I'm most concerned is how are they going to counteract all of that money being taken out, and what value are they going to be providing back to make sure that that kind of pool of liquidity doesn't necessarily get drained. So here's a couple things that I found kind of interesting. So they talk about gamifying the experience. So they've offered ways to actually purchase gem upgrades, they're called, where it kind of metaphorically gets put into your shoe, and maybe it adds a different level or a different gives you some sort of a boost or gives you a different attribute to your sneaker, and that causes GMT to burn, and it's permanently improves and it's permanently removed from the GMT supply. So of that 6 billion, that's being taken away. And you can also burn GMT to get a chance to receive a higher quality sneaker from actually minting. So they call it opening a shoebox, but that is minting one of these shoes. So if you mint a shoe, you can essentially burn extra GMT to get a higher chance of getting a rarer sneaker, which would earn you more cash dollars for running or walking or whatever you're going to do. And there's just a lot of different things going on here, just like leveling. They have this kind of leveling mechanism and gamified aspect to the game where you can level your sneakers. So you have to burn GMT to do so. And so that's just another way that they are looking at burning. So here's kind of that list. And we chatted through a couple of these, but things like sneaker repair, every once in a while, I think, I don't know the exact timeline, but every so often you have to go and kind of repair your shoe after running. If you want to customize your shoe, you have to burn. If you want to level up sneakers, you have to burn. If you want to upgrade your gems on your sneakers, you have to burn. So they're going to have to keep introducing things like this and make sure that it's kind of counteracting the balance of people just basically cashing out their coin and going along their merry way. But I wanted to look on Twitter and just get an idea for people who have actually tried this. I personally have not tried this yet. I plan on trying this. Please leave a comment below if you had. I'm interested in hearing your experience. But Small Veggie on Twitter, he or she was talking about how they use STEPN. And one of the cool points that she made, and in her experience, she actually just walked for 10 minutes and made $40, which is pretty awesome. I think anyone would take that payday, but that goes back to our point that anyone would take it. So at that point, you have to kind of mitigate that many people sucking the liquidity out of the pool. But one of the cool things that she was mentioning was that the actual UX and the actual in-app experience was almost better than Nike Plus and some of these other huge running companies. So you think about Fitbit, you think about Nike Plus, but she's talking about how her experience within the app, and you can see this UX actually looks pretty, well put together. But she's saying that a lot of these times, or a lot of these other companies are pretty close in terms of the UX and UI experience in the app, and kind of correlating the exercise with what you're doing on the app. So she was very surprised. He or she was very surprised at how good that UX was, how smooth it was. But now the question becomes, how do they kind of keep paying out $40 to $100 dollars a day to users. It's a very, very lucrative return. He or she makes a great point here. Very hard to keep that sustainable. So the question is, how do they kind of start picking up that burning and maybe adding more burning mechanisms? But not only do they have very, very smooth in-app transactions, the actual tracking of the way that you run makes it very, very unique and very similar to, a Nike Plus. So if people start using this, maybe not even to just earn money, if they actually use it because they enjoy the app, now that is a whole separate opportunity for STEPN, right? Because if people are just coming, don't care about withdrawing the cash, but they enjoy the UX experience, they enjoy the experience they get in the app, that means a ton of eyes, a ton of users would come to the platform, and therefore increase the ability for others to make money as well, especially if a lot of these folks aren't looking to withdraw. But right now, the big kind of red flag, right, is that someone can come in here for 10 minutes, get the app, make $40, withdraw it right away. There's a lot of, issues with that, right? And we've kind of talked about that. But in the short run, definitely some issues there. They have to come up with more burning mechanisms. In the long run, an acquisition from Nike Plus or other companies, talking way out in the long term, could be really, really interesting as a prospect for them. I mean, they have a huge following. Look at this user base just exploding. So this has had eyes on them now for the last month or so. And so it's really, really interesting to see, what other companies are going to make moves if this app is long-term successful, will there be acquisitions? But just very, very cool to see that it's not all about the money, essentially, with what they're trying to do, right? They're actually creating a very smooth, easy to use, fun to use running app. So that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that one. Leave a like or comment. Would love to hear if you guys have tried this or if it just sounds like a Ponzi scheme to you. But thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.